Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Bulls maintain their winning momentum on the Lal Street. Sensex gains nearly 1,000 points and Nifty reclaims 24,000. The rupee regains some lost ground against the US dollar. Adani stocks continue to recover from the losses it sustained last week, but the company's bonds slide to their lowest level in a year. Adani's French partner Total Energies rules out any new investment until the consequences arising from the bribery charges in the US are clarified. Major Adani investor GQG Partners says it does not expect any material impact on Adani's businesses. A stormy start to the winter session of Parliament. Opposition seeks a discussion on the bribery allegations made by the US Justice Department against Gautam Adani and other Adani officials. Both houses are adjourned within an hour. S&P retains its forecast of 6.8% GDP growth for India in FY25, but cautions that high interest rates and lower fiscal impulse could temper urban demand. Cuts its growth forecast for FY26 and FY27 by 20 basis points. Crude oil prices waver near a two-week high as tensions in Ukraine and West Asia continue to escalate. Hezbollah fires a barrage of rockets at Israel, even as some reports claim a ceasefire deal is very close to becoming reality. India sees a sharp 85% spike in fraud cases carried out on UPI platforms in just the last financial year. Finance Ministry tells Parliament that FY24 saw over 13 lakh fraud cases involving more than 1,000 crore rupees. Data theft at HDFC Life Insurance Company says an unknown source has shared certain customer data with malified intent and a detailed investigation is underway. Amazon looks set to enter the quick commerce space and throw down the gauntlet to incumbents Zepto, Instamart and Blinkit. Sources say a launch is likely within a few weeks. After a thumping victory in Maharashtra, leaders of the Mahayuti alliance go into huddle to finalize the next chief minister. BJP legislators meet as Devendra Fadnavis emerges as the front-runner, but Eknath Shinde's camp push for his return. As the COP29 climate summit draws to a close, developing nations promise to triple climate refinancing to $300 billion by 2035. But the decision faces backlash from developing nations, which had pushed for $1.3 trillion. African countries call it too little, too late. India says it's too paltry a sum. India cruises to a 295-run victory against Australia in the first test at Perth. This is India's third highest victory margin overseas in Test history. Jasprit Bumrah is named the man of the match. Rishabh Pant, Shreyas Iyer and Venkatesh Iyer strike gold at the IPL auctions. Pant becomes the most expensive player in IPL history as he's picked up by Lucknow Super Giants for 27 crore rupees. Well, let's start with the market action. The Sensex gained nearly 1,000 points and the Nifty reclaimed the 24,000 mark. Mid-caps marginally outperformed the blue chips and bank stocks were the stars of the day, with the Nifty Bank Index gaining over 2%. ONGC was the top gainer on the index. Shares, meanwhile, of Zomato gained after it was included to the Sensex. HDFC Bank was the other big gainer due to MSCI index rebalancing. Well, speaking of the markets, the rupee recovered against the dollar in sync with the rise in all Asian currencies. The Indian currency saw its biggest single-day gain since June 3rd, a day before the local election results were announced. The recovery today can be attributed to US President-elect Donald Trump appointing Scott Bessent as the Treasury Secretary. Known as a fiscal hawk, Bessent has vowed to bring America's deficit down just to 3% by 2028. The global currency market is optimistic that he will inject more stability into the US economy and financial markets. Well, shares now of Adani Group companies continue to recover lost ground after a sharp sell-off last week. Adani Enterprises and Ports clocked gains after losing over 20% when the US Justice Department indicted Gautam Adani and others on bribery allegations. Some group companies, including the likes of Adani Power and Adani Green, declined in trade. Now, Adani's dollar bonds are at their lowest level in a year as investors weigh the allegations. Now, Adani's French partner Total Energies has ruled out any further investment. Total Energies owns nearly 20% stake in Adani Green, and it owns more than 37% stake in the joint venture Adani Total Gas. In a statement, Total Energies said it will not make any new investments until the allegations against Adani and their consequences have been clarified. Total also said that it was not made aware about the allegations and learnt about it through public announcements made by the US Justice Department. Meanwhile, GQG Partners, which invested billions of dollars into the Adani Group after the Hindenburg report, has played down the US bribery allegations. In a note to its clients, GQG said that the indictment is only related to one group company, which is Adani Green. GQG says that many global executives have faced corruption charges and regulatory probes, and that have taken years to resolve and could yield reduced penalties. Now, GQG does not see any material impact on Adani's businesses. However, the bribery allegations have also cast a shadow on Adani's global deals. Kenya has already scrapped an airport project and a $700 million power transmission contract. Bangladesh, meanwhile, has hired an external firm to review the power transmission deal with Adani signed by previous Sheikh Hasina. Meanwhile, Adani Ports' deal in Sri Lanka is also under a cloud. International Development Finance Corporation, a US agency, had pledged to finance $553 million port terminal project in Colombo. But after the allegations, the US agency says that it is assessing the ramifications of the charges. DFC also said that no funds have been disbursed under this loan commitment as things stand right now. Now, Sri Lanka's cabinet is also likely to take a decision on the Adani project. And meanwhile, the controversy surrounding the Adani group has rocked the parliament as well, as the first day of the winter session got off to a stormy start. The Lok Sabha was adjourned within just a few minutes after opposition members demanded a discussion on the bribery allegations against Adani and others. Congress MPs wanted opposition leader Rahul Gandhi to be allowed to speak on the issue, and the speaker denied permission. We saw similar scenes in the Rajya Sabha as well, and both houses were adjourned for the day within just an hour. All members of parliament have been invited to attend the Constitution Day celebrations at the Central Hall tomorrow at 11 a.m.
हर पीढ़ी का काम है आने वाली पीढ़ियों को तैयार करे, लेकिन 80-80, 90-90 बार जनता ने जिनको लगातार नकार दिया है, वे न संसद में चर्चा होने देते हैं, न लोकतंत्र की भावना का सम्मान करते हैं।
Leader of opposition also to be invited for speak. Now you are tomorrow celebrating the Constitution Day. That Constitution Day, you are demolishing the spirit of the Constitution. You are making it as a one-sided show, as a Sarkar program. Then what is the role of the Parliament here?
Well, speaking of the Parliament, more news coming out of the Parliament session. Fraud cases related to UPI has risen 85% in the last financial year. That's according to the Finance Ministry. The Ministry told the Parliament today that FY24 saw more than 13 lakh fraud cases involving more than 1,000 crore rupees. UPI transactions also surged by 57% last year. Shivani Bajaj is joining us now with more details. Shivani.
UPI frauds are rising at an alarming pace, with cases surging 85% in FY23. The Ministry of Finance has revealed in the Parliament that fraud incidents jumped from 7.25 lakh cases in FY23 to 13.42 lakh cases last year, with the value involved nearly doubling from 573 crore rupees to 1,087 crore rupees. This trend continues into FY24-25, which has already seen 6.32 lakh fraud incidents worth 485 crore rupees in just a few months, nearly 50% of the last year's total. On the flip side, UPI usage is soaring. Transactions grew by 57% year-on-year from 8,371 crore in FY23 to 13,113 crore in FY24 and have already crossed 8,566 crore in the current fiscal year. The Finance Ministry says that it's tackling fraud through multiple measures. The RBI is using a central payment fraud information registry powered by AI and machine learning to track and prevent frauds. Security measures such as device binding, two-factor authentication and daily transaction limits are also in place. For citizens, the ministry has introduced reporting tools like the National Cybercrime Portal and the Helpline 1930, along with public awareness campaigns on preventing cybercrime. Additionally, the ministry said that the Sanchar Sathi portal now has a feature called Chakshu to report fraudulent calls and messages. The government insists these steps are critical to securing India's rapidly growing digital payment ecosystem. But with fraud numbers soaring alongside transaction volumes, the challenge of balancing security and accessibility remains significant. Back to you.
Right, Shivani, thanks a lot for that. Now, staying with the action from Parliament, the Finance Ministry reported a 317% rise in fake 500 rupee notes over the last 5 years. Data presented in the Parliament stated that fake 500 rupee notes surged from over 21,000 million pieces in FY19 to over 91,000 million pieces in FY23. However, a 15% drop was witnessed in FY24. Meanwhile, fake 2,000 rupee notes rose 166% in FY24, surging from over 9,800 million pieces in FY23 to more than 26,000 million pieces. Now, ratings agency S&P retained its 6.8% India growth outlook for the current fiscal, but slashed forecast for the next 2 fiscal years by 20 basis points. In its report, S&P cited high interest rates and lower fiscal impulse that could temper urban demand, and this was the reason for the downgrade. That's not all. S&P also highlighted that the impending Trump administration will be challenging for China and the rest of Asia Pacific. The Finance Ministry has said that it is cautiously optimistic on India's economic outlook. According to the ministry's October economic review, high-frequency indicators show that the economy will rebound after a brief softening in the monsoon months. The government also said that bright agricultural production prospects could be beneficial for lower prices, making the future inflation outlook benign. Now, HDFC Life Insurance has disclosed a data theft incident involving customer information. The insurer has said that an unknown source has shared certain customer data with malified intent. HDFC Life said a detailed investigation is currently underway in consultation with information security experts to assess the root cause. Well, on to another CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The committee appointed by insurance regulator IRDAI is likely to submit its recommendations on the role of insurance intermediaries. Yash Jain is joining us now with more details. Yash.
The insurance regulator IRDAI had appointed a committee. The task for this committee was to suggest changes, amendments into the insurance intermediary space. New things being suggested in terms of the functioning of the intermediaries. What are these intermediaries? Essentially, any channel which distributes insurance products on behalf of an insurance company. These could include banks, agents, agency, as well as insurance aggregators. Now, what we've been given to understand is that the committee is expected to, give 5 important suggestions to the regulator in terms of changes that we could see in the coming days as far as the insurance intermediary space is concerned. The first one is with respect to increasing the free look period beyond the current 1 month. Essentially, what's a free look period? It is the period within which a policyholder or an insured entity can opt out of an insurance policy or port to another insurer for the same policy. That period currently stands at 1 month. The suggestion could be to increase that period beyond 1 month. The second one is to allow agents to tie up with more than one life, health and general insurance company. Currently, banks are allowed to do that, to tie up with 9 life, general and health insurance companies. The same is being suggested as far as agents are also concerned. The third one is no sale of complex insurance products through bank assurance channel. The fourth one is with respect to banks maintaining video records of every insurance policy sold by bank executives, essentially the bank assurance channel. And the fifth and the final one is removal of sales target as far as banks giving targets to their employees in terms of insurance sales is concerned, and taking action in case of any violation. Certain suggestions here that could come to the regulator will also hold a lot of importance, certainly in context of the recent statements that came from the finance minister as well as the IRDAI chairperson with respect to mis-selling as far as the bank assurance channel is also concerned.
Right, Yash, thanks a lot for that. Now, in international news, heavy fighting between Israel and Hezbollah continues. Israeli airstrikes over Beirut continue over the weekend, causing massive destruction across the city. Hezbollah retaliated and fired around 300 missiles and drones at Israel's capital, wounding 11 people and causing severe damage across Tel Aviv. Reports have suggested that both Israel and Hezbollah are on the cusp of a ceasefire deal. However, there is no official confirmation yet. The Israeli military has also carried out fresh strikes on the hospital in northern Gaza, killing at least 2 people and injuring dozens. More than 44,000 people have been killed in Gaza and over 3,700 people have been killed in Lebanon since the war began last year. Meanwhile, Iran's supreme leader called for the execution of Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, instead of arrest warrants. Now, oil prices fell after gaining 6% last week, but remained near 2-week highs. This as geopolitical tensions between Western powers and major oil producers, Russia and Iran, continue. It has raised concerns over potential supply disruptions as well. And back home, shares of Indraprastha Gas Limited soared in early trade after the company hiked CNG prices. The city gas distributor increased prices in the range of nearly 2 to 4 rupees per kg in cities including Noida, Ghaziabad and Gurugram. However, the price remains unchanged at 75 rupees per kg in Delhi, where polls are scheduled in just the next few months. And the board of Hindustan Unilever has provided its in-principle nod for the demerger of the ice cream business into an independent listed entity. In a statement, the company said that the board considered different modes of separation of the ice cream business after due consideration. Remember, the ice cream business contributes 3% to the company's overall turnover. And Saudi Arabia has sought a bilateral investment treaty with India before proceeding with a free trade agreement. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that India is not keen on linking the FTA with an investment treaty, which it is negotiating separately with Saudi Arabia. The Indian government also believes that signing an FTA with the Gulf Cooperation Council is unlikely anytime soon, and negotiations will take time. Well, here's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The government is considering the introduction of an arbitration mechanism to reduce litigation burden on taxpayers and government officials. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the upcoming budget 2025 could include a framework to make arbitration a preferred method to resolve tax disputes. Active discussions are also underway to create a special team dedicated to an arbitration desk. Well, here's some sports news. India hammered Australia by 295 runs in the first test at Perth. This is India's third highest victory margin overseas in test history. Jasprit Bumrah, who was the stand-in captain this match, was named man of the match. The next test match will begin in Adelaide on 6th of December. And staying with cricket, Rishabh Pant, Shreyas Iyer and Venkatesh Iyer struck gold at the IPL auctions. Pant became the most expensive player in IPL history after a 27 crore rupee winning bid from Lucknow Super Giants. In fact, here's my colleague Hormaz Fatakia. He's joining us now to wrap up all the IPL and as well as the cricketing action. Hormaz, take it away.
Well, death, taxes and changes are the only constants in life, but the other constant in life is the IPL. And while 4,000 miles away in Perth, it was raining runs and wickets, it was raining crores in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, where the IPL auction is currently underway. The other big constant in the IPL, though, is that the most expensive player tag keeps shifting and raising the bar higher every season. This time around, it was Rishabh Pant, who was bought by the Lucknow Super Giants for a whopping 27 crores. Shreyas Iyer by the Punjab Kings for 26.75. I'll talk about the other Iyer in this list in just a bit, but Punjab Kings also splurged 18 crore for Yuzvendra Chahal, the Indian leg spinner. A lot of talk about foreign players, the big moolah they get, but not playing the full season. This time around was no different. Josh Butler going for 15.7 crore to the Gujarat Titans, and Trent Bolt and Jofra Archer for 12.5 crores each to the Mumbai Indians and to the Rajasthan Royals, respectively. Uncapped the big money retentions, of course. I talked about the other Iyer in this list, and that is Venkatesh Iyer, who was retained by the Kolkata Knight Riders for 23.75 crore. Virat Kohli for the RCB for 21, and Arshdeep Singh, the fast bowler, retained by the Punjab Kings for 18 crore. Uncapped players have drawn a lot of attention because of a certain Mahendra Singh Dhoni, but the actual uncapped players who have not played for India received a fair share of bids as well. Rasikdar Dar Salam, the fast bowler from J&K, was bought by RCB for 6 crore. Shashank Singh for the Punjab Kings for 5.5, and Naman Dheer by the Mumbai Indians for 5.25 crores. So, while the Border Gavaskar Trophy is underway in Perth, it is raining crores in Jeddah, and the focus is on the IPL as well.
Well, death, taxes and IPL, the three constants as per Hormaz. Hormaz, thanks a lot for wrapping up all the IPL action. Now, coming up on India Business Hour, after a thumping victory in Maharashtra, leaders of the Mahayuti Alliance go into huddle to finalize the next chief minister. Details in just a bit. And you can also catch all CNBC TV18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and Jio Cinema. You are watching India Business Hour. Now, the COP29 Climate Summit has concluded in Baku. After much deliberation, developed nations have agreed to provide $300 billion a year to poorer nations by 2035 to battle climate change. However, India has expressed its disappointment with the proposed amount, calling it abysmally poor. The Indian delegation said that the developed nations' proposal is too little and too distant.
We are extremely, extremely disappointed. I regret to say that this document is nothing more than an optical illusion. This, in our opinion, will not address the enormity of the challenge we all face.
And the voters of Maharashtra may have given a clear verdict, delivering a landslide victory to the Mahayuti. However, the fog over who would be the next Maharashtra chief minister is yet to lift. Top leaders of the Mahayuti are in a close huddle to decide on the state's top post. While Devendra Fadnavis of the BJP is the front-runner, sources tell Network 18 that the Shiv Sena is pitching for Eknath Shinde to retain the CM's post. Sources tell Network 18 that the NCP has backed Fadnavis as the Maharashtra chief minister. Ajit Pawar dismissed talks of any formula for the CM post and said that the alliance would decide on it together. Sources tell Network 18 that Shiv Sena is pitching for Shinde to retain the CM post. The party says that poll trends were in favour of the Mahayuti because of the Ladki Bahi Yojana, Shinde's flagship initiative for women.
मेरा नेता, मैं शिवसेना पार्टी से बिलोंग करता हूं, मेरा नेता एकनाथ शिंदे साहब है, तो मुझे लगता है कि मेरा नेता मुख्यमंत्री होना चाहिए, मुझे लगता है, लेकिन निर्णय तो युति के नेता लोग लेंगे।
राष्ट्रवादी कांग्रेस पार्टी के ओर से अजित दादा पवार हमारा नेतृत्व करेंगे, यानी कि अजित दादा पवार को नेता चुना गया है। अजित दादा भी तो हो सकते हैं, उनका भी तो स्ट्राइक रेट बड़ा अच्छा रहा है भाई। क्या अब जो है ये तीनों बैठकर जो है जो भी चर्चा होगी वो सबको जो है मान्य है।
भाजपा का मुख्यमंत्री होना चाहिए और मुख्यमंत्री भी हमारे देवेंद्र फडणवीस जी होने चाहिए, यही सपना है हमारा।
Meanwhile, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha leader Hemant Soren is all set to take oath as the state's chief minister on 28th of November. Soren met Jharkhand Governor Santosh Gangwar and staked claim to form the government. The India bloc secured a decisive victory in the assembly elections to retain power for the second consecutive term. Now to the latest on the violence hit Uttar Pradesh's Sambhal district. A protest over a Sambhal mosque survey turned violent on Sunday. Police said that 4 were killed and several officials injured during the incident. As precaution, internet services have been suspended and schools are shut down in the district. At present, the situation is under control. An investigation is underway. So far, 25 people have been arrested and 7 cases have been filed against 400 people. Now, Amazon India is set to launch its quick commerce service called Tez. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that platform is likely to be launched within just a few weeks. This will mark Amazon's global debut in quick commerce space, making it only large e-commerce platform yet to venture in the booming segment. The entry also comes amidst intense competition within India, with domestic companies like Flipkart also entering the space recently. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates will continue right here on CNBC TV 18.